Another weekend coming up, and another weekend full of Triple Crown preps. 3 of them. Aqueduct, Tampa Bay, Santa Anita, all of them to be shown at America's Day at the Races from 5 to 6 Eastern Time on Saturday. We'll take a little bit of a look at all 3 of those races. And first of all, for you, best way to play those races and all the races is to play them through Naira Bets. Head on over to nairabets.com. If you're not a member, use the promo code MATCH200, and we will match up to $200 of your initial deposit. We will also be offering a special promotion on Saturday through the app and the app only. If you bet 50 or more to win on both the Gotham and Tampa Bay Derby, win or lose, you'll get a $20 bonus. That's for these races, and we'll start out at home here at the Big A with the Gotham. Always one of my favorite races. Love that it's back to a flat one-turn mile. And we'll see, are these horses Triple Crown type horses? Are they more middle distance horses? And who, of course, is most talented? Highly motivated, been waiting for his debut since an impressive performance down at Keeneland. This was on Breeders' Cup Day. And even though the big Breeders' Cup races were yet to come, the turf and dirt races for the 2-year-olds, the fastest Beyer speed figure given out that day was given to Highly Motivated for his blowout victory over a strong field. And this is a figure that has been more than confirmed by quite a few horses coming out of that race. Highly Motivated, a talented runner for trainer Chad Brown. Will he stretch out? Will he stretch out effectively? And will he do it in his first start off a layoff? And what's a pretty interesting field. I think Highly Motivated is extremely talented. He should be forwardly placed, though there is plenty of pace in this race. And I believe Highly Motivated, the morning line favorite, is in fact very much the one to beat. But Bob Baffert, who's going to be very strongly representing the San Felipe out at Santa Anita, he's strongly represented here with the number 7 Freedom Fighter. In his last race, he lost to another highly touted Bob Baffert runner, Concert Tour. And it really took the entire length of the stretch for Concert Tour to get by Freedom Fighter, who was extremely game down on the inside and finishing second. The question with him is how much other speed will he have to deal with? Because there is potential speed from the other California shipper, Wipe the Slate, and it could be a pretty quick pace. And also, is he a horse that's going to get better with more distance or even maintain his very strong form so far off his last race going a mile? I have some questions about that. I think it's going to be a pretty strong pace, and he's one I'm going to try to actually beat in this race while understanding Bob Baffert, always a dangerous trainer, and he's obviously a very talented horse. Mentioned the other California shipper, and that's the number 4, Wipe the Slate. Wipe the Slate was impressive breaking his maiden on opening day at Santa Anita the day after Christmas, December 26th. Now, big win that day with an 88 Beyer. They tried him his next start going 2 turns in the Robert Lewis, where he ran at that super fast pace, and he was dreadful, absolutely close to eased in that race, beaten 20 lengths. They're shortening up a little bit in distance, going back to 1 turn and hoping that works out the way it did in this maiden win. Now, if he can run back the maiden win, he's not impossible to get a piece. We'll see if he's good enough for this race, and we'll see how his pace does against a horse like Freedom Fighter and potentially some others. Capo Kane, who won our Jerome here on New Year's Day, he came back last time. Now, this is his Jerome win, and it was an easy win, an upset win in that 5-horse field, and he used his speed that day as a weapon, something it's going to be tough to do in this race with the other speed. But I really thought his Withers last time when he was 3rd was a very impressive performance, as he finished 3rd, beaten just 5 lengths by the highly regarded Risk-Taking, and that was a race that completely fell apart, yet he held very well, drifting down towards the inside, a place that most of the running was not done, or the good running was done. And I think Capo Kane is dangerous if he can rate. Also should mention Crowded Trade, the other horse entered for Chad Brown, same connections as Highly Motivated. He was extremely impressive, breaking his maiden first time out. Now, he can't get left like he got left last time, but he is another impressive horse. He needs to step forward, but we'll see what he does as well. Highly Motivated, the one to beat, but we do have some West Coast flavor, especially from trainer Bob Baffert. Let's shift gears and head down to the Tampa Bay Derby. We'll see what the weather ends up like. There is a chance there's going to be some rain down there. Hopefully it won't interfere with this race, but if it does, we'll see how things play out. Candyman Rocket, he has to be considered the horse to beat. We'll take a look at him winning the Sam Davis Tampa Bay's prep for this race. The 3rd place finisher, Hidden Stash, who gets a rider change to Rafael Bejarano for this race. If you look at it sort of, just judge it as a race, he had a very good trip. He saved ground. He angled out in the stretch. He just wasn't quite good enough to get up. He did, though, most of his running right down the rail, and there is an argument the rail was dead that day at Tampa Bay. So his performance could easily be better than it looks. And I think Hidden Stash is one of the few horses that you can use against Candyman Rocket. And I like his chances to turn the tables, but I have no doubt that Candyman Rocket is the horse to beat. A wild card is the number 10 Helium, coming up, or down, I should say, from Canada for trainer Mark Casse. His only 2 races have been on synthetic. And take a look at both of them are wins. Last time out was in their display. This was back in October. Can he transfer this good form and take a step forward? Now, he should be able to take a step forward as a 2-year-old who hasn't raced now in almost 5 months. The problem is his pedigree says turf. Ironic as his sire was all turf, and the dam side is significantly turf. So I question whether or not this horse is going to transfer his form, and I think Helium is one that can take some money you can play against. What about Todd Pletcher? He does not have as strong an arsenal in these 3-year-old races as he has in so many of the last 20 years. He'll try Promise Keeper, and I imagine he's glad to see the weather forecast predict rain, because last time out on the slop, he was a dominant winner over an interesting field. Now, the second, third, and fourth place finishers were all first-time stars, but 2 of them were Chad Brown runners, including one we'll see here on Sunday's card for Shadwell, but also a horse for Juddmonte. And so those horses didn't take a ton of money. You can see the fourth horse was a short price, though. That was another Todd Pletcher runner, actually, I believe, Talus. Promise Keeper was good. He improved. Can he extend that improvement to a much tougher spot? Perhaps some rain will help his chances. I like Hidden Stash over Candyman Rocket. I think they are the main 2. I couldn't make cases for any of the others. Race number 6 at Santa Anita, the final race we'll take a look at. And remember, all of these races on our 5 to 6 Eastern Time broadcast of America's Day at the Races. It's the big one out in California, the San Felipe, and this is a very exciting race. Bob Baffert is extremely strongly represented by Life is Good, who's considered at this point one of the favorites for the Kentucky Derby, though many have some questions whether he's going to get the 1.25 miles. He was impressive in both of his starts, particularly last time when he set a quick pace and he was able to hold on over Medina Spirit, the other Bob Baffert horse. We'll get to him in a minute. Life is good, and he's going to come out running from the rail and try to wire them again. Mike Smith will not get in his way. I question whether he gets better with more distance. I question whether ultimately he'll be a Derby horse, or he's the kind of horse we might see in our Woody Stevens and or Alan Jerkins at 7 furlongs later in the year. Life is good, but so is Medina Spirit. He was gaining on Life is Good in the race that you just saw, but boy, did his last race impress me. I know some may look at his 91 buyer and say, well, is that really good enough to win? Well, sometimes it's how you run the races, and as we take a look at Medina Spirit in the Robert Lewis, he ran extremely well in this race. We talked about the horse in the Gotham. See how he does for trainer Doug O'Neill, because he was beaten 20 lengths being involved in this pace, and the other one in the pace also finished very poorly in there. 2 deep closers got to him, one of them being Roman Centurion in here, who hadn't run, he just run about 4 weeks earlier, breaking his maiden. He hung down the stretch, but for Medina Spirit to have set that wicked fast pace and still hold on towards the end, it's a very game performance. He showed he can rate. Now, he hasn't shown he can rate and win, but he showed he can rate and run well, 2 back in the Sham. Behind Life is Good, he'll be a much bigger price than Life is Good, and I think he can beat that one. In fact, he's actually my pick here, but like a lot of people, I am extremely interested to see what the number 2 Dream Shake is able to do in this race, because we saw what he did in his debut. Well, many will remember his debut was supposed to be the coming out party of another superstar from trainer Bob Baffert, and that was Bezos. Well, Bezos did no running, but boy, if you didn't know better and you just turned the race on, you'd say, that must be Bezos, because he was highly touted, and Dream Shake ran like he was a killer. Very, very impressive performance. Now, he comes back 4 weeks later. He stretches out. We'll see what he does stretching out. I am eager to see what he does, because Dream Shake could be a serious player. This is no easy spot for him. Right away thrown to the Wolves. Very interested in what Dream Shake does. Not the kind of horse I would necessarily bet in here, but I won't be surprised when he runs very well. What about the Great One? The Great One in his 5th start, he seemed to come alive. Now, the question you have to ask yourself is, what do you do with a horse that was somewhat mediocre in his first 4 starts, but only 2 of them were on the dirt? And his last one before this was a nose defeat to Spielberg, who, despite a bad break, actually ran very well at Oaklawn in the Southwest last week. So maybe his Los Alfuturity is a better race than initially looked. He was devastatingly good in here. He'd have to actually get better probably to win this race, but he can stalk. He did stalk in this last race, and I don't think you should completely dismiss him. The San Felipe is a very, very strong field, and it's interesting. California had a dearth of runners last year for our Breeders' Cup races and our top 2-year-olds, but it seems like they have come alive, and as usual, they could be sending a number of players to the Kentucky Derby, the Gotham, the Tampa Bay Derby, and the San Felipe, once again, all on the America's Day at the Races broadcast from 5 to 6 Eastern Time on Fox Sports 2 on Saturday. You can play them and all of the races at Naira Bets. Head on over to Naira Bets if you're not a member. NairaBets.com. Use the promo code MATCH200, and we will match up to $200 of your initial deposit. And finally, We'll be offering a special promotion on Naira bets through the app and the app only. If you bet 50 or more to win on both the Gotham and Tampa Bay Derby, win or lose, we'll give you a $20 bonus. A lot of exciting action this weekend. Enjoy.